14 of the fantasy football season, and this is the last week before most playoffs here. And here's a few wide receivers I looked at off the wire this week. The first guy, Isaiah McKenzie of the Buffalo Bills. So right here, my Isaiah McKenzie, for the most part, it seems like he's the number 2 wide receiver in the pecking order for this Bill team. Gabe Davis, it's been a down year for him, and he really hasn't done much. And McKenzie, over the last few weeks here, is starting to put numbers up. Week 11, I know he had no fantasy points, but week 12 at Detroit, 2 carries, 7 yards with 6 catches, 96 yards, and a touchdown. And week 13 in New England, 5 catches for 44 yards. So right here, week 14, a matchup with the New York Jets, which in week 9 he didn't do much. Was McKenzie in that one at the Jets in their first meeting with 2 catches, 12 yards. But this week here, he's been a better option over the last few weeks. Josh Allen has good rapport with Isaiah McKenzie, and a guy that he obviously trusts in the red zone as well. So McKenzie right now available in 63% of fantasy leagues, and he's a wide receiver I looked at this week. The next guy is Demarcus Robinson of the Baltimore Ravens. So Robinson, it's been one good game, one bad game, it seems like, over the last couple weeks here since he's had an expanded role with this Raven team. But him and Tyler Huntley had a good rapport in the Week 13 ball game, and these guys were working obviously on the second team before all the injuries at wide receiver for Baltimore. So right now they have chemistry, and if Huntley's going to remain the starter, if Lamar's out a few weeks here, I think Robinson could be decent for fantasy owners. And right now he's available in 88% of leagues. The last few weeks here for him: Week 11 versus Carolina, 9 catches, 128 yards. Week 12 at Jacksonville, he had a bad game, 1 catch, 17 yards. And then week 13 versus Denver, a decent one, 7 catches, 41 yards. So right here, week 14, a great matchup with the Steelers that give up the most fantasy points to wide receivers on the season. And right here, he's going to see the field a lot. He's going to get playing time. And he's a guy, like I mentioned, he's going to be one good week, one bad week. But if he can find a little more consistency, he's definitely a guy to get, and he's available right now in 88% of fantasy leagues. The next guy is Kwame St. Brown of the Chicago Bears. So this is Amon St. Brown's brother here. Obviously a former Green Bay Packer, but now on the Chicago Bears this season. And with Darnell Mooney out for the season, the next guy had to step up, and he did in week 13 versus the Packers with 3 catches, 85 yards. I know he's going on bye week this week here, but St. Brown definitely a guy to keep in mind. And we saw some flashes early in the season. We had some decent fantasy days. So now with Mooney out, coming off the bye week, I think we'll see him even more, St. Brown. And he's available in 100% of fantasy leagues. The next guy is Jahan Dotson of the Washington Commanders. So Dotson, he got off to a good start early in the season with Carson Wentz as the quarterback. But this season now, the last couple weeks here, he hasn't done much with Heineke until week 13. Week 10 at Philadelphia, 1 catch, 14 yards. Week 11 at Houston, a catch for 13 yards. Week 12 versus Atlanta, target didn't do anything. And week 13 at the Giants, 5 catches, 54 yards, and a touchdown on 9 targets. I know the Commanders go on bye week in week 14, but after that, once again, they versus the New York Giants coming up. And Dotson here, rookie coming off injury, it's going to take him a few games to get things going. And he finally got it going in MetLife Stadium with a nice ball game. And right now, he's available in 86% of fantasy leagues. And the 5th and final wide receiver has an ad on the wire this week's DJ Chark of the Detroit Lions. So DJ Chark, he's been getting it going over the last couple weeks here after he came off injured reserve in week 11. Week 12 versus Buffalo, 2 catches, 16 yards, a touchdown. And week 13 versus former team, the Jaguars, 5 catches, 98 yards. So next week here in a potential shootout with these rivals over there in the NFC North, Minnesota Vikings and the Lions. Vikings give up the 5th most fantasy points to receivers on the season. I know Jameson Williams came back, but he didn't do much. Amon St. Brown, obviously the number 1. And DJ Chark's a guy who could take pressure off of St. Brown and make some plays with one-on-one coverage. So right now with Chark available in 84% of fantasy leagues, he's definitely a wide receiver on the radar this week to add. So that's a few wide receivers I look to add here in a pivotal week 14 of the fantasy football season.